What's up, everyone? My name is Westin Brusso, owner and operator of WB Outdoor, and I am a hardscaper.
Welcome to the I Am a Hardscaper series on the How to Hardscape podcast, where we sit down and interview a hardscape business owner and do a deep dive on how they became a hardscaper and how they operate their business. Today's episode is brought to you by IQ Power Tools. They manufacture a comprehensive range of innovative power tools with integrated dust collection systems that you can check out at iqpowertools.com. Now let's get started with our interview with Westin of WB Outdoor. All right, Westin, let's get started. To get to know a little bit more about yourself, give our audience some context about you. How did you get started in this industry?
Hey, Mike, thanks for having me. Basically, I got started in this industry pretty thing. I just kind of jumped into it, and that's the way I started. I was about 18 years old when I started off in this industry, installing artificial grass, and from there, continued with the artificial grass. That was kind of our career path. And then, so jumping back, I'll tell you the story of kind of how we got into the turf and how that transitioned from turf to landscaping to hardscaping. So when I was about 18 years old, didn't really know what I wanted to do. I always loved landscaping, landscape architecture, building. I was always kind of drawn to that. Driving past like a job site or something, on the side of the road, I was always looking to see all the equipment, and it looked like a lot of fun. And so I always kind of knew I wanted to do something. Even in high school, I took AutoCAD and I loved designing. And so I was always felt like I wanted to be in that industry. I didn't really want to go to college and do that, go down that road as much. I kind of knew it wasn't for me. I like to work with my hands. I like to build stuff. I guess growing up, my father, he laid carpet. He's a pilot, but he laid carpet, and he's a carpenter. My grandpa was a carpenter. He laid tile and carpet his whole life, pretty much. He's still alive, but not laying carpet anymore. But so my father taught my brother and I how to install carpet. And every time we needed to like redo our carpet or something, or our family's carpet, or he would get like, side jobs and stuff. And we would go out and do it when we were like, 12 years old or whatever. And so we kind of learned that trade. And I wasn't in love with that at all. As a kid, you're just getting dragged along and you're like, this sucks. Why do I have to do this? But so later on, after I graduated high school, I was working at a little Mexican cantina, a little restaurant, and I was just washing dishes and doing a little busboy gig. And while I was working there, I got a couple little landscape gigs, and I would work for other people and do little maintenance things. And one of the guys that worked there was a server, and he had a side business, little landscape company. So I went out with him for a few months and did some landscape maintenance and reinstalled drip irrigation and planted some plants and stuff like that. And so that was kind of a little bit of an intro into landscaping, besides just like working at our own house and, sprucing things up with my dad or something. But so when I was working at that little cantina, it was in Fallbrook, California. So I'm here in Southern California. I live in Temecula now, but Fallbrook's just like 10 minutes up the road where we used to live. And so while I was working at that place, there was a Fallbrook Avocado Festival going on. And if any of you guys don't know this, Fallbrook's like the avocado capital of the world. I don't know if it still is, but it used to be. So they had this avocado festival. I think they still do. I haven't been in a long time, but they had a bunch of vendors lined up, and I was working, but my dad was there, and he was strolling around and checking things out. And he called me or something and said, "Hey, Wes, they have a turf vendor here. You should go check it out. They're looking for installers." And so I was like, okay, cool. And we had talked about kind of like getting into turf a little bit because it started becoming really popular, and we saw a lot of companies doing this work around us, because we're in a very arid climate. We're in, pretty much, in a desert zone here. So we don't get a lot of rain, and water bills are high. And so turf is kind of becoming a big thing for the residential landscape industry, not just like fields and sport fields and things. So anyways, met some people over at the turf vendor, and the company we worked with was Pregra Artificial Grass, and they're still in with Costco. We don't work with them anymore, but we worked with them for a long time, maybe 10 years or so. So long story short, we met the owner. He was the manufacturer. He produced, makes the turf out in Dalton, Georgia, and they ship it all around the country and stuff. It was a really good product, and it was like one of the best products at the time. And so long story short, my brother Jake and I got into it, and they gave us a little bit of like an interview, a little rundown. We had dinner with them a couple times, and they got familiar with us, and they're like, all right, so we're going to send you guys up to Washington State, from Southern California to Washington, to install a couple of jobs, and we're going to get you trained. And then from there, we'll get you working with some other contractors, give you some more training, and then you guys can take it from there, or you can just keep working with other contractors, whatever you want to do. So it was kind of cool. 18, 19 years old, we got to take their company trucks up to Washington. There was a little box van, a little Chevy box van, like 1500. And then they had like an Isuzu truck that was all outfitted with boxes and the racks and everything. And then we were towing a trailer full of turf and headed up to Washington, and installed 2 jobs for the 2 buyers of Costco. So they're the ones that kind of were involved with Steve, the owner, who got it all into Costco. And so it rained like every day that we were there, maybe aside for a couple weeks, but we were there for about a month and a half, and probably because we were really slow. But it was just my brother and I, Jake, doing these jobs, shovel wheelbarrows, lugging out the sod and up some like slippery, muddy slopes, and then installing the base. And we got a good amount of training there, and that's kind of how it all started. And we kind of fell in love with it right off the bat. I felt like I had more of a purpose than working at a Mexican cantina. Like getting to see your work come to life, and finishing a job was a really good feeling, and I was kind of hooked from there. So that's kind of where it all started.
Going from that initial install, you guys fall in love with the turf installs. It makes a lot of sense where you are. We kind of talked about that before, in terms of, turf is really popular there, correct?
Yeah, it's super popular, maybe too popular.
So that makes sense that you guys kind of pursue this. Where does the story go from there in kind of embracing the artificial turf installations?
So we continue to work for some other contractors. They call them Pregra Pros, the certified Pregra Pros. Pregra Artificial Grass would they would do training seminars, and then they would bring on more contractors and stuff. And so we met a few different contractors through those little training seminar things. And we would actually be training future Pregra Pros and stuff, which we would end up working for because they're licensed and they had companies already established. So we started working for a guy for, I don't know, maybe on and off for a couple of years. And then we started working for another guy out in Palm Desert, which is just over the hill from us. And then so from Palm Desert, we started working in Palm Desert. So we kind of had a little network of people we would work for, me and Jake, and we started getting really good at it. And, our skills were pretty well, we thought we were like the best in the business. I'm sure that wasn't the case, but we thought we were pretty good. And So, so we had a lot of different guys we could work for, which is really cool. The guy Steve kind of set that up for us. So we always had work, and then from there we finally, my brother Jacob, he got a D12 synthetic surfacing license, and here in California, that's basically like a license for synthetic surfacing. Like if you see like those playgrounds, commercial playgrounds that have like that rubber squishy rubber underlayment stuff, and then artificial turf, and it covers like drainage and base work and all that. So he got that license, which was kind of perfect for us. And then we formed our company, the Turf Boys, and so we were kind of joking around about that name when we were working. We're like, oh, we're the Turf Boys, and throwing that thing around. And then we're like, well, we got to figure out a name. So that just kind of came naturally. So we we did that, and we ran that company for, I would say, 6-7 years, up until about 2016-ish. And we were doing really well with it. We had more work than we could handle, a lot of good jobs. Once we're in Temecula, California, we went down the hill to like Palm Desert a lot, and there's a lot of money down there. Like a lot of people have second homes and stuff, and it's kind of a vacation spot. And so we had a ton of work down there, and so that was really a blessing, and so that kind of got us kick-started. And then from there, we had two trucks. Every time we just saved and reinvested in our company, and we had two trucks, two dump trailers at our peak, I guess you'd say, and we were able to kind of split up and start doing two jobs at once, and things were going good. But right around, I don't know, 2016 or so, my brother and I we started sort of having a little falling out because of I don't know, just because we're growing in different ways and we're getting older, and I guess our needs weren't being met in certain ways. And I guess a lot of it was like kind of financial too. When we started kind of spreading ourselves thin, it started getting a little bit rough. And I kind of decided that I didn't think that I wanted to keep doing artificial grass, not so much artificial grass, but I guess just being in a partnership was really wearing down me. Jake, started a family, and he needed a little bit more money, and I was like on a certain budget. Like I give myself a certain budget, allocated like $500 a week for working 70 hours a week or whatever it was, doing bids and all the work and everything. And we couldn't really come to an agreement on financial stuff, and that's kind of what sort of messed things up, unfortunately. But it is what it is. He's my brother. I love him, and we kind of went our different ways from there. We're still on good terms and everything, but business with families can be kind of tough sometimes.
Where does the transition from artificial turf towards more like landscape, hardscape installs, how does that all fit into the picture? Like where were you introduced to these hardscape more installs, and how does that kind of transfer into your business?
Yeah, so during our whole turf experience thing, people would always ask us, oh, well, while you're here, can you, since you're capping all of our irrigation, or, redoing our irrigation, can you set a new irrigation system up and do plants and stuff too? And we'd say, yeah, sure. So we started getting into a little bit more landscaping, just kind of dipping our toes in that thing. And then when I broke off, I got a C27 landscape construction license, which kind of allows you to do, it's kind of like a general contractor of the outdoors, sort of, because there's so much that you can do with that, concrete, building stuff, and planting, irrigation. It kind of covers a lot. So you can basically find a niche within that C27 license. And so that's kind of what I did. I just slowly started adding on little things here and there, and trying it out and seeing if I liked it or not. And so we started doing like more planting jobs, and then slowly started doing like little tiny paver jobs. We started doing a lot of like paver borders for our turf jobs, just to kind of get familiar with, and just kind of kept pushing in that direction. My wife Kaylee, she made us an Instagram, and she made us an Instagram, and I started kind of scrolling around, and seeing how many people there were out there they were doing these, awesome hardscape projects. And I didn't even know all the tools and stuff that were available until I was just, trolling around on Instagram, and then it kind of opened up my eyes to the way that things can be done more efficiently with less people, and that's kind of what sparked my interest to really start pushing towards that, because I always loved hardscape, and when we were doing our jobs, I'd see the other contractors come in, and they would already be finished or be finishing like their paver jobs or concrete or whatever it is, their outdoor kitchens and all this stuff. And I always wanted to get into that, but I just had no idea how to really break into it, and started looking on Instagram and seeing some people do things with machinery. And from where I am, there's a lot of people I would see in my area, like people do paver jobs, and I would see them come in with like 15 guys and just like shovel a wheelbarrow and doing base. And I was just like, how do they afford to, make payroll with all these guys? Like, I don't even understand how so that kind of threw me off. I'm like, it just seems way too labor intensive. I don't know if I could ever get into that. I know how to do the turf, and it seems it comes kind of natural because I have a little background in that. But with the pavers and some of the other hardscape stuff, it seemed like it was super labor intensive. But after going on Instagram and seeing some other people using the right machinery, and they have like 3 guys on the job, like making it happen, I felt like it was actually possible, and I would want to model my business that way. So slowly with the turf jobs and landscape jobs, I started adding like little paver pathways and things like that, and getting comfortable with it. And then I guess it just kind of went from there.
A couple of things. The contractor license in California, what is the process like? If for maybe somebody listening in that wants to get into what you're doing in California, what's the process like to get that license?
It's not too bad. You do have to study for it. Basically, there's a law exam, and then there is a trade exam. So there's 2 tests you have to take. And I went through like a program. I paid like $300-$400, I think, because I was nervous about it, and I was like, I didn't really know what was going to be on there. And so I went through. I think it was called what was it? It was like get your contractor's license now or something. And it was I kept seeing signs like right in our town, like all over. And so I signed up for that class, and they did some like night classes and stuff. And I went through that program, and they just tested you on stuff. And then they gave you like basically online tests of the actual contractor's license exam. And so you could take the test as many times as you wanted, and they'd give you like multiple versions of it. So every time you took the test, it would be like a different version with different questions, so that you could kind of be more ready for the test. And so I did that, and then took the test. So basically you have the law and the trade exam. And from there, you go into a little testing facility, take your test, and then you take the next test. So it's a couple hours long. So yeah, I passed the test. Thank God. And,
Was it helpful? Was it helpful to go to that pre, that to pay for that course, that studying, and to get?
Yeah, Mike, it definitely was. I'm not like a huge academic, kind of like learning in a classroom is probably better for me than like online learning, because, I think there was like 10 people in the classroom at the time. And it was better for me because people could fire off questions and ask things real time, and you could get explanations and things like that. And they taught you the law side of things, and then the trade side. Or actually, they didn't teach you the trade at all. They would dip into it a little bit if you had your own questions about your trade, but it was more about the law they would teach you. And you pretty much just had to memorize all that stuff because it's not really something you're going to have to use, in your career all the time. It's good to know, definitely. And there are things that I have retained that are definitely important, but it's like LLC versus incorporated. And then there's like, let me think about it. Like when you have a big job and you put a lien on someone for payment because maybe they don't pay, or you do a preliminary notice saying that I have the right to lien your property if you don't pay me, basically, like stuff like that. Like, it's good to understand some of that, the legal stuff, before getting into, bigger projects where that might be an issue, and especially commercial stuff where that's definitely something you need to do. So I think it was like $400 or $500 for that course, and it got me ready to take the test. And so it was definitely worth it for me. I would suggest someone going through it, just research the place that you're going through and make sure they're a good fit.
Can we speak a moment on partnerships, especially not necessarily with a family member, but I've never been in a partnership. I know some of the guys that have been on the show have. Can you speak a little bit about the pros and cons of being in a partnership? Some things that were great about it, some things that are difficult, and what made you kind of, move into business on your own there?
Yeah. So I think partnerships are an awesome thing if you have them, if you have it kind of dialed, your partner well, and you guys have a history and you work good together, and really grow and last. Because when you're in a business partnership, you're basically married to that person, in life, because you have so much involved in a business. As it's like part of your life. It's your livelihood. It's everything. So if the partner, isn't maybe the perfect fit, it can be really tough, and you'll have a lot of ups and downs. With my brother, I don't know what it was. I guess it was just kind of like I was the younger brother, so a lot of my opinions maybe were overshadowed sometimes, and I didn't feel like I was getting proper credit for maybe what I was doing. And he's just like, older brother, oh, don't worry, like, I know what I'm doing, and kind of stuff like that. And so for me, though, it was more like the straw that broke the camel's back was more about the finances of our company. I kind of saw it going downhill, and it was going in a bad direction. I was doing side jobs like on the weekends, and I was working like 7 days a week for like 4 or 5 months straight, just to try to keep my head above water, because we were kind of going in a downward spiral. And so it was really tough, and I had a really hard time just trying to cope with all that and hold it all together, because it was a long time coming where it was kind of going in that direction. And I think what did it for me was I was trying to have both set kind of boundaries with our finances. And I would say, hey, like, I only want like $500 a week to pay my personal bills, and for me to have like, my spending money and my grocery money and stuff like that. It's not too much to ask for business owners to take that from the company, so that's what, $1,000 a week, $4,000 a month. I think we a little bit more because he has a wife, but you got to pull out, business when you want unexpectedly, because I have no control over that at that point. So that's kind of what did it for me. I just wanted to have, a common agreement that we could, have that arranged so that we would know what we can afford and not afford and things like that. And towards the end, I was doing like side jobs just to kind of pay myself and kind of stack up a little bit of savings for myself, a little safety net, because I was a little bit worried about what was happening. And then towards the end, we had the conversation many times, and at the end, a lot of money was spent again, and we were having trouble making payroll, and it was just like I couldn't handle the stress anymore. So I funded the payroll the last couple times with my own, side money job, that from money from my side job stuff, I was funding payroll. And then, so that all came out of my pocket. And then at that point I was done. So it was tough. I kind of wish it didn't have to be that way, because if we did have a good understanding of business and that sort of thing, I think we could still be, together, probably further on than I am on my own, but it is what it is. And I learned a lot from our first business. All those tough times have kind of led me to, prepare myself for our future businesses and things like that. So now my wife, Kaylee, she's kind of my business partner now. And so, I think everyone, if you have a wife or something, they're probably going to be involved in some way. So they're going to help you, whether they might have something else going on, but they're going to help you make those business decisions. And you need someone, I think, in any business to kind of sound off your ideas and make sure that you're on the right track. You're not just like thinking alone for yourself, because it can be tough, making big decisions on your own. So my wife now is fully immersed in the business. She quit her job about 8 months ago, and she had a good job, and she decided to quit her job to help our business thrive. So it's been a great experience, and we're happy she did. It was scary, but because we kind of depended on some of that income, but now it's been going well, and she even comes out in the field and helps, and so it's been a good journey.
It's always good to get, it seems like most contractors have those financial things that catch up to them. And it's a really good learning experience, especially when you're young, and especially like you starting, fresh with a new business. Now, talk to us about that progression from that job, from, starting to decide to get into hardscapes, to get into offering more services, to where you are now. Talk about that progression. What did that look like? Where were the jobs coming from? How did you get those jobs and line those jobs up? What was that progression like from that time until where you are now?
Okay, yeah, sure thing. So the progression of from turf to landscaping to hardscaping was pretty slow. Just like one step at a time. I didn't just try and like go bid a big hardscape job and go tackle it right away. It was a slow progression. Like I said, I saw a lot of people doing stuff on Instagram, and it kind of sparked my interest. And like I started doing a lot of paver edging just for our turf jobs, and it was really nice because I could tie into like an existing paver patio that they already had. I would go get the same pavers and do all the edging that way and concrete them in, and it was just kind of a nice little accent to finish off the yard properly. And then we started doing little paver walkways. Most of the jobs we did were like for friends or some family and stuff. I even did my own little paver patio here at the place I live. And then so just kind of experimenting with different pavers and different paver combos and stuff that we thought looked nice. And then I don't know, I guess we did a lot of like small patios, and then and some walkways. And then from there, I don't know, I guess just word gets out or something. And I I changed some stuff on our website as well. I kind of changed the way we were branding our old company. So going back to, I guess, from EcoTurf, when we started EcoTurf, it was just EcoTurf Inc. And then so I added some stuff to our website and kind of rebranded things a little bit. And I made I made our website a little more inclusive with things. And I said, I added like landscape construction to it. And then I added pavers and some services to it. So if I did a job estimate or something for some pavers, at least they could go to my website and see that we offer pavers and we're not just a turf company, landscape company or something. So I think that helped a little bit. I tried to start gearing us towards hardscapes. So basically just kind of started little by little adding it to our list of things we did, and slowly started getting better job leads and word of mouth, do a good job and someone else would refer someone and in our area, and we just started getting better jobs. And as we got more comfortable, we took on bigger jobs as we went.
You mentioned the rebranding. Where does that, like, what came into that decision? What made you want to rebrand from EcoTurf to WB Outdoors?
At the time, like when my brother and I kind of had a falling out, and I sort of had to make a quick decision on continuing my career and jumping from our partnership to my own thing, and knowing that like turf was pretty much our biggest seller and what we did, and that was where most of the money was, and we were really good at that and efficient. Most of our jobs were turf jobs. I wanted to just like do some kind of, I should have just done WB Outdoor from the beginning probably, but I was worried that I wouldn't like attract the kind of customers that I wanted, and I wasn't really ready for the hardscape thing yet at that point. So I ended up doing from Turf Boys. I started a company. Our company name was EcoTurf, and then I added landscape construction to it just to kind of make ourselves a little bit more diversified, I suppose. And so from there, we started getting a lot of like retaining wall projects and nothing to do with turf at all. So from there, I was from the beginning with the EcoTurf thing, I kind of felt like I made a little bit of a mistake just sticking with the turf, And I didn't really want to go in that direction because most of the calls we get, like from just random calls up from online, is just, can you install some grass at my house? And it's not the kind of attraction I wanted. All of our referrals were always good, but I kind of wanted our whole name to encompass what we really do. And I didn't want to continue with this name that's kind of marginal and minimalizing or whatever, what we're trying to do with our company. We're going in a different direction now. So I figured I might as well do this now while I'm young before, it's too late. And then we build this brand of EcoTurf, and it's still all about the grass and stuff. And then the hardscape and the whole design build aspect of things. So I decided, let's do it. It took a long time. It took about 6 months to get it all finalized. It was like IRS and EDD and CSLB and all this stuff. So we just kind of waited till everything was all said and done, and now we get to do the fun stuff and come up with the logo and redo the website, which should be fun. I hope so.
I just want to take a moment from today's episode to thank our sponsor, IQ Power Tools. They began by building tools to solve their own job site dust problems. Fast forward to today, the company continues to combine intensive research and industry knowledge with a completely updated approach. The result? Innovative tools that eliminate dust in water while creating a more efficient workforce. IQ Power Tools envisions a future where their innovation helps create a 100% dust-free environment. Job sites are safer, work practices are healthier, and the construction industry becomes even more sustainable. Their national War on Dust tour begins this summer. Visit www.iqpowertools.com to see when they'll be in your neighborhood. Now back to our episode. I like that you mentioned as you're sort of starting to transfer into this outdoor living space, hardscape installs, saying no to the jobs that are coming in that you're wanting to push aside to take on the projects that you want to grow into. That can be especially difficult, especially as you're growing your business and having employees. And saying no is probably one of the hardest things I've come across in my business, right?
Definitely. And but I think saying no can push you in the direction you want to go. So it's important to learn how to say no sometimes and stop chasing the jobs that you don't want, but you have to kind of let go of them and have that uncertainty that maybe you won't have work soon, but you need to make that plunge to push yourself in the right direction and really focus on the jobs that you're trying to achieve.
When you were just doing synthetic turf installs, those leads, what were the avenue that they were coming in? Were they mostly referrals, website based? And then looking at where you're at today with hardscape installs and everything going on, what are those avenue like? Like, are they comparable to what they were before, website, referral based? And like, we're comparing those two.
Well, I think they're pretty similar. The referrals are still our strongest lead source. If someone refers us from, we did a job, they pass our name to their friend or something, but it's changed a little bit more now. We're friends with a lot of people on Instagram now, and even contractors that are in our hometown here. We get a lot of leads from them. I have a couple general contractors that we work with, and they give us work. I'm friends with a few landscapers who I met off Instagram, believe it or not. And we, started talking and chatting. And then before you know it, they're like, they don't do artificial grass. So any turf lead that comes in, they're kind of throwing that at us. And all of these jobs are way more pre-qualified. They're way better leads. It's almost a done deal once they, ask for some pricing. Not all of them, but they're just so much easier to vet and know that they're a quality lead because, they probably already had like a landscape designer come in and take a look at everything and draw up stuff. And so they've already invested, they've already spent money on a design. And so just having a good community and that has helped us so much. And just being around a little bit longer now, we've got a better name for ourselves now, and we've got the trust of some other contractors. So we get a lot of our leads from, I think there's 3 landscape contractors that don't do pavers or don't do hardscapes and artificial grass. So we get a lot from them. That has been huge. Frederickson Landscaping, they're on Instagram too. They've been great. We've been doing a lot of jobs with them, kind of tag teaming jobs where they do the landscape and we do the hardscapes. And then what else? Stone yards. All of my, I have like 2 different stone yards that are close to me that I always go to. And I've been going to them for, I don't know, close to 10 years. And just making a good relationship with those guys has been really great. We've gotten some of our best projects, some of our biggest jobs from those stone yard referrals. So those have been great. The hardscape stores, just being nice to those people, don't be a dick and piss those guys off. And I mean, that goes a long way right there. You put your business cards up in their store and just kind of remind them that you're in the area and you'd love to, get more leads, and they remember you and pass your card along. And that's been great. Word of mouth is the biggest thing. And then these other sources have been great for us too.
Yeah, I can vouch for, I started in the industry working for a supplier, so I can definitely vouch for being nice to the supplier.
Yeah.
Really goes a long way with getting the right service and getting the right referrals from them too. Sure. So how about your sales process? Let's get into when somebody contacts you, where do you take that from there? Whether they email you, call you, text you, uh, where do you go about setting up a consultation with them? We'll get into that. So what do you do about setting up a consultation, and what are you going to talk about and get into on that initial consultation?
If someone calls me in the middle of the day and I take the phone call, I usually try to, have them open up on the phone call. If, I'm interested in the lead, have them tell me about their project. I don't, because I used to make this mistake a lot in the past. I would have a really short phone call. They say, hey, we want turf and some landscaping in our yard. Can you come take a look? And then you're like, okay, sure. What time works best for you? And then basically the whole process is controlled by them. And then you might go there and check it out, and it's not even something you want, or it is something you want, but their idea of price is so far off that you shouldn't have even gone and looked at it, because they weren't going to spend the money anyways. So I had a lot of that happening in the past. And so nowadays, and especially with everything that's gone on with COVID and everything, now I take a phone call. I try to get them to talk about their job with as much detail as possible. And then I always ask them, how did they hear about us? Because I want to know if it's from, the Stone Yard or referrals, or how did they hear about us? A lot of phone calls come from, I'd say about half from like our website or Yelp, or like they just found us online. And those are the ones I really want to vet, because they might just be price shopping on those leads a lot of the time. So recently I've been doing more of this, just having them like shoot me some pictures of the job, and if they can, just give me some rough measurements. And that will, if they're not willing to do that, then they probably won't do the job anyways. But I usually say, hey, we're backed up like 2 or 3 weeks. I can't even get out there for a couple weeks. Like, are you willing to, if you could please send me a couple photos of the yard in the meantime, and some rough measurements, and from there I can just give you a rough price. Like, and that will determine whether they want to even do the job or not. It'll give them a ballpark of what it's going to cost, and then they might say, oh, that sounds reasonable, or no, that sounds way more than we were thinking. So then at that point, you're not going to go see the job if they already said they can't afford it. So that's been really big, like especially with COVID. Like, I think in the whole construction industry, it just ramped up so much more once they kind of got over the initial hump of the whole fear, and everyone stopped booking. But once everyone is at home and sitting around, not spending money on vacations and stuff, they started just pouring money into their houses. And so we started getting so busy that we were having to be very selective about what job we were going to take or go and look at, because we just didn't have enough time to look at everything and entertain everyone. So I started just doing the, basically just text message and figure it out, pictures and things like that, and giving them quick, rough pricing, and definitely helped vet our customers and not waste too much time driving around.
How about consultations? Do you charge for them, and why or why not?
We have charged for them, and I don't think it's a bad idea. Like during last year, during COVID, I did start charging. I charge anywhere from $50 to $100. And it wasn't, I didn't really get too much friction off of it. A lot of the people that you would say, hey, well, you can give me some rough measurements and pictures, and I can give you a price over the phone, or I can do in-person $50 consultation, but I won't be able to come out for a week or two or something. And if they're willing to wait then and pay the $50, and usually we already got the job. By the time we finished our conversation and everything with what they want done, you might already know that it's a quality lead. But this kind of just deterred the tire kickers from wasting your time, because there's just so much volume, like, of people calling. Last year, it was kind of overwhelming. So the $50 or $100 fee was just kind of a way to filter out some of the bad leads. And but some of the stuff that I went and looked at, I did a couple consultations where I did, it was $100 and gave them a bunch of design ideas. There's a few properties, and went and looked at them and helped them figure out what they're going to do with their whole property and stuff. So I think charging is not a bad thing, and it makes people value you as a person and as a company right off the bat. They don't want to waste your time, because your time is so important, and especially when you're out in the field as much as we are as hardscapers, and myself, I'm just getting started. I feel like I have to spend so much time in the field. I'm tired. I don't really want to go run around and spend possibly hours at someone's house giving them ideas for their yard and they're not even going to pay for my service. So paying for our time, whether they're saying, hey, we're going to do it ourselves, that's fine. And I can give them some good ideas, but they can at least pay for the time. But back to, I'm not really charging anymore. I stopped doing it, but I don't feel like I had to. It hasn't slowed down too much, but I'm kind of back on track, and being selective about the leads and pre-qualifying them has helped me, I guess, filter out the tough clients.
When you are in that initial meeting, what are you going through with the client? Especially when you offer, synthetic and turf installs, hardscapes, landscapes. What are you getting down to with them? What questions are you asking them specifically on that in that initial meeting?
In the initial meeting, after the phone call, you go there. I basically want them to walk me around their space and tell me everything they want. And basically I kind of say, hey, like, are there any items on your wish list that you have to have? Like, for sure you have to have that. And then stuff that you want, like your want list that you maybe not sure, but it would be a cool idea or something. And I try not to intervene too much in the beginning and try to like, oh, what if you did this? What if you did that? And get all crazy, because I don't want to like give them false expectations of what they might be able to afford or something, and take the meeting into the wrong direction when they're only having me come out to do like a paver patio, and I'm trying to do fire pits and waterfalls on the side or something. So I try to have them kind of lead the meeting and walk me around, show me what they had in mind. And then once they tell me everything that they want, and then I can go into, hey, like, have you thought of doing this? Or what if we shaped it out, this way? But then I try to ask the questions like, how many people live here? How big is your family? How many people do you anticipate? Like, how many people do you usually have over for holidays and stuff? Like, do you have a big family coming over? How much space do you think you would realistically need outside? And that's usually a good question. And they usually say, oh, that's a good question. Like, where would we put our dining room, our outdoor dining room table? And then just try to feel out the space and give them like realistic expectations of how much space they need and how much planter space they want. Are they gardeners? Do they want like super low maintenance? Like if they're like an older couple, they might not want a whole lot of planter beds. They might want more hardscape and less planter space because they don't want to deal with trimming and all that stuff. So basically kind of just get an idea of what their lifestyle is like, and then kind of go from there. And then maybe you can throw on the bells and whistles and the fire pits and the cool stuff and seating walls and and all that cool stuff. And sometimes you get leads where they know exactly what they want right off the bat, and they have it almost laid out for you. You just have to refine it. And those are sometimes the best ones because it's an easier sell.
Definitely. And then what about landing a job? So you go back, you prepare a quote, design if you need to. What do you do in terms of landing a job, presenting the quote to the client? Do you set up another schedule meeting with them, or do you present it to them through email? And payment structure after that, like what do you do in terms of payment structure with the client?
Basically, our process of like bidding has changed over the years. We used to be just like very strictly price per square foot, and that was good if you know your square foot pricing and you know your numbers very well. But it became like there's so many more factors involved in a job that you have to look at because you can be way less profitable on this like 1,000 square foot turf job. From 1,000 square foot turf job to the next, you can be like make half the money. And so we started breaking down our quotes based on like access, the complexity of the job, the type of work, the job location. And so slowly I just tried to get away from square foot pricing and it's more about now knowing my numbers, knowing my my hourly rate, and I kind of break it down into a day rate because usually it's about, hey, I'm going to be on this job for 2 weeks. I'm going to be here for whatever 14 days or whatever with my guys or 10 days, and so basically breaking it into a day rate of what it costs me to operate the job, type of removal. The access is huge. If it's a front yard, if you're gonna, bust out a front yard job versus the backyard, what's the difference there? How much more work is it to lug everything to the backyard? Do they have like a wall that here in Southern California, they have a lot of these neighborhoods packed in pretty tight, and they give you like no room on the side of the house to get to the backyard. So, if we can, we're going to take their gates down and, rebuild them at the end of the project if we have to. But sometimes that's not even an option because it's like a cinder block wall or something in not even a 3-foot gate. So those jobs are tough, and it might require some wheelbarrowing and some hard work. So you have to factor that in to those jobs, what the removal and what the base work is going to be like. How are you going to tackle that? And charge more for those jobs because it's going to be longer and it's going to be a tougher process. So yeah, that's how we do our pricing now. We try to structure it off of a day rate and access and things like that, and location of the job. So adding a little bit more for that drive time. And
what made you transfer from charging per square foot, charging your pricing your jobs like that, and moving to this new system?
What I was getting was customers, they know like maybe the going rate, the general like square foot pricing, and then they'll just straight up ask you like over the phone before a meeting would be like, how much are you guys per square foot? And you'd be like, oh, I'm $12 a square foot for turf or whatever, 25 for pavers. And it was like being at like a swap meet or something, like dealing your square foot price numbers. And it was just kind of annoying, to be honest. If it's kind of, I don't know, I feel like it's a cheap way of going about it. And when you know that all the processes that really go into it, I just didn't want to be like price matching other people and stuff. So I started breaking it down differently. And I actually learned this from Stanley Dirt Monkey. I went on to one of his YouTube channels, and I was watching some of his videos, and he straight up just like took his paper and showed you his contract, and I screenshotted it and kind of went through his contract, and I was like, that's so much better of a way to do it. basically listing out the whole job description, and then in like a big paragraph, basically. And then down below, you have it itemized with like whatever it is, removal, base work, or maybe it's prep, removal, base work, install, whatever. You break it into, and then you just basically what that each process costs, put it in just like that. And because before my contract was just way too long, and I feel like it was confusing, and then it just had like square foot pricing right next to everything. So I feel like it made people think that they could bargain, on the job when I already know what I need to make on it. And they'd be like, well, what if we did it for, $8 a square foot or something? And, like them just knowing all your pricing, it doesn't really help them or you get the job done. It's sort of, I don't know, I feel like you're laying too much out there for them, and they can just dissect your quote and start nitpicking everything and tossing things out. Not that I'm not trying to be transparent with our customers, it's just putting too much information out there for them kind of doesn't help the process, I guess. So we've been moving into this structure it actually, like, people don't question it very much at all. They don't say, well, what's your square foot price? I feel like it's an easier contract to read, and it's really streamlined things a lot easier, especially with bigger projects, that there's so much there. They just need to know the general, like, what's being done here. So I hope that answered your question.
Definitely. And then in terms of landing that project, payment terms, how do you split that up on say a hardscape install? What does your payment terms kind of look like?
Here in California, we are actually only allowed to receive 10% or $1,000, whichever's less, for a down payment. So if I wanted to schedule a job that's a month or two out, I could only get $1,000 max to hold that job in place, for just to reserve them a spot. So usually, I usually get maybe $100 or $1,000, whether just depending on our schedule and how far backed up we are, as a deposit. So I've done $1,000. I've done that a lot, and that seems to work out fine. And then basically, like, the day we start, we'll do 30% down, 30 or 40% down, and then a progress payment, and then a completion. Once the job's completed, we receive like the last 30%, 20 or 30% at the end. So I like to get a down payment right away when we get to the job. 30 or 40% pays for the materials that we've probably already ordered. And then once we get like laying pavers, or like halfway through the process, get another payment. And then at the end, we just, pick up the rest of the remainder.
Now, from what I understand, California is a pretty tricky state to do business in terms of those little rules of payment and permits and everything like that. Is that true? Is California a pretty difficult state to do construction in?
Yeah, they pretty much blow all their money, and then they come after the business owners for their money too. So yeah, it's pretty tough. Like, I'm kind of jealous of other people, in other states. I see them like running these big trucks, and I'm like, I can never do that because it's just so expensive to operate. Like, just everything's expensive here, I guess. They kind of nickel and dime you on everything. Like, truck registration is like astronomical. The insurance is really pricey for a commercial, truck insurance. There's just a lot. And then like, they just have so many stupid laws in place that just slow you down. But I mean, they're there for a reason, but they just take it too far, I think, and they make it too expensive for you to run your business. So there are some tricky little things to California running a business here, but we make it work.
And how about a horror story, Weston, if we can go there and ask you anything that's kind of happened in your business, wherever you want to take it, in terms of anything we've talked about or anything else. Do you have a horror story you'd want to share with our audience?
Yeah, I got a lot of them actually, but I'll I'll try to stick with this one. This one job that we did was probably the worst I ever got burned, and it really taught me a lot. Though it made me get more serious about paying attention to my bids and my processes and how I deal with people. So I have a friend. He's still a friend. He owns a pool construction company, builds pools. He hit me up and he was like, "Hey, I want you to bid out some work for me. I'm building this custom pool over in Fallbrook," and I was like, "Okay, cool." And right away, like my eyes lit up. I'm like, "Oh, sweet! He wants us to do like a whole paver job, pool deck around the whole pool, and it was a big project. I think there was like 3,500 square feet of pavers around this pool deck, and there was 2 staircases. There's 2 different levels, a lower paver area around like a kitchen and swim up bar and stuff, and then the upper area had a ton of flagstone work and then paver edging all the way around their lawns. They had 2 separate big lawn areas, and so it was a pretty complex job, and paver walkways and stuff. And so me being so eager to get a cool job like that, I totally underestimated what it was going to take to get that job done. I bit off a little bit more than I could chew. I mean, we got the job done and it turned out beautiful, but the process getting there was a little bit rough because about halfway through the job, I kind of realized that I'd screwed up and I didn't charge accordingly for the amount of work we were doing. So that goes back to charging by the square foot. Like, you got to get away from that if you can, and know your numbers a lot better if you're gonna be successful in this business, because that one hurt a lot. Basically, there was these 2 large staircases that probably, I don't know, it was probably like 10 feet of elevation change or something, and we'd only done a few smaller staircases, and I had a different idea of how I was going to build them. And then the pool contractor was like, "No, you need to do them like this." And he said, we're going to form and pour these with concrete. And I didn't even factor that in. So then I had to have a concrete contractor, one of my buddies, come in and pour the staircases. And then we veneered everything with pavers to match everything, and bullnose and everything. And so that I totally screwed up on that one. I didn't charge hardly anything for these stairs. And then just the whole process took way longer than I thought. Basically, I ended up losing 15 grand on that job, believe it or not. And it really hurt. And I kind of started second guessing myself, like, oh shit, like I don't know if I can do this, or maybe I'm not ready for this stuff. And I ended up putting like 10 grand on this, or 10 grand on this credit card, on my business credit card, and ended up being like 15 grand. But that probably took me like a year to pay off that stupid credit card. And so I had that credit card bill that was like floating for a year. And after that, it was hard to catch back up after you take a loss like that. It doesn't sound like a lot. Now it still is a lot, but it really made me rethink how I was bidding and how we're charging for these jobs. And so that was a good lesson learned, I guess. Just I think taking your time with your bids, like if someone's rushing you on a bid, like, hey, can you give me those numbers? Can you give me those numbers? And you're just not sure, and you haven't done your research and gotten all your numbers squared away. Don't just throw out a number and hope that hope it's a Hail Mary and it works out for you. Like, you really gotta know, what you're bidding, and say, hey, sorry, it's not ready yet. I need more time. Just, I would say, put those people off, because a lot of times some people feed on you, maybe not being prepared and rushing you into giving them numbers so they can hold you to it, especially with big projects that are really complex. Like, if it's too much and you're looking at it and you're trying to bid this thing all day and putting all your numbers together, and you need to walk away from it for a while and come back and finish up, like, just don't rush things. Don't do it at 3 a.m, because they said they need it the next day. They can probably wait. It's not the end of the world, but you gotta cover your ass and make sure that the job's going to work for you too. So I guess that's all I have to say about that horror story.
And it's always good to kind of get those out there and let people know that things do go wrong, and that's a tough bullet to chew. But you did mention that you start to doubt yourself, especially when you see that on your credit card, right? Like, how do you get through something like that, where you do? We've all been there. We've all like doubted ourselves and had to bite the bullet on something. How do you get over something like that? How do you get your confidence level back up? Is it just on the next job or what?
Yeah, I mean, after that, I was kind of like apprehensive about, just hardscapes and pavers in general. I was like, damn, like, there's a lot more to this. And I felt like we were really slow, at installing. And like, I'm like, I need to reevaluate things, and so, it probably took me like 6 months. I didn't take on another paver job for a while. I kind of went back to my old ways, and I was just doing turf jobs for a while, and we were slamming those things out, and those were like easy for us. But and then I just we did a couple more like smaller paver jobs, and we just slowed the process down. I think one of the biggest things with that job was being a subcontractor was tough too, because like, I would have ideas and, hey, can we do it like this? And I had no connection with the customer. It was just straight through my buddy. And he's just like, no, we're doing it like that. No, customer doesn't like it like that. No. I'm like, oh my God. Like that was tough, because it kind of put me in a weird position, and just not being able to, connect with the customer. But just getting back on track was just taking on smaller jobs and really, trying to slow the process down for my guys so they could learn and not be rushing, because we were like under the gun on that job, and everyone hated that job by the time we were finished, because I was stressed out. I was obviously pushing that onto my guys too, like, come on guys, we gotta go, we gotta finish this thing, like, and that's no way to work. And that's just a great environment for mistakes to be made when you're pushing your guys too hard and rushing them. And they need credit, and they need some love and appreciation. And especially when they're learning, like, you can't have someone hovering over you and making the process worse. So yeah, we just slowed it down and started doing smaller jobs, and then got our confidence back, and it started becoming a little bit more streamlined and easier for everyone to understand once we wrapped our minds around it, and just took more time to train everyone, basically.
Well, Weston, I've held you up quite a long time already today. Take as little or as long as you want with these next two questions as we round things up here. Getting into installation, products, tools, equipment, any talking points that you want to get into on any of that, things that are big in your business, things that you swear by, anything on that you want to speak on with that.
I use Dynascape, our design software. I got Dynascape, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago now. I probably bought it a little early because we weren't really doing like a whole lot of big time design work. but I knew that I wanted it. I think I saw like J Squared use it using Dynascape, and it was pretty awesome. And I took AutoCAD in high school, and I took a class in college. And from what I kind of gathered, AutoCAD Dynascape is basically AutoCAD, just more geared towards landscape construction and all that. So they have a huge plant listing, and they have a lot of little elements you can add in. So it was easy for me to kind of understand it. Coming from AutoCAD, it was a lot different. I mean, I probably didn't really learn the program for about a year. It took me a while to become kind of more fluent in it. But yeah, so Dynascape has been great. We can really produce a really professional drawing now. I used to do hand drawings, and I did that forever, and I really enjoy hand drawing, but I had to kind of force myself to learn a program so that we can make revisions easier on our design process. And it's been great. I think we're finally actually paying for the program. It's kind of a pricey program, but now we've gotten a little bit better at it. We're charging for our designs, and paying for the program and the subscription, and then some, and putting some money away with that. So yeah, and also with the Dynascape, we've started designing not only for ourselves but for some other clients, and we have another landscape contractor that we started doing some design work for, and that's actually been a really cool experience because he knows what he's doing. He's a really good landscape contractor. He builds walls and all kinds of stuff, and it kind of made me less lazy on the design process because it's not for me now, it's for someone else. I can't really take my sweet time on it. And he makes the revisions with me, and I change things, and then I have his eyes on it too. So, it's pushing me to be better than I was at the program. And so that's been cool. Equipment has been huge for us. We bought a Vermeer CTX 100 about a year ago now, and that has been a huge game changer for us. The little mini skid steers are so efficient. It's changed the way we work, it's helped out so much. My guys absolutely love the machine, and I do too. We have a lot of difficult, access here with the small side yards, and that thing can pretty much get anywhere. And we do the plywood highways every time, anywhere we can. We try to get that machine on site, every job we're on nowadays. So just helps so much with moving bulk material, and moving it moves about a half a pallet, but you just, you can get a half a pallet into a backyard and moving bulk stuff. It's been a huge game changer. And then we just recently bought a little mini excavator too, a little Sani SY16. And that thing has been awesome too. We on that large retaining wall project, we were going to be basically, I looked at it, and we were going to end up spending like 10 grand on a excavator rental. And I just had some money saved and decided it would be a better idea just to put a down payment on a new Mini X, and something that's ours, because it just made more sense. and I wanted it to, of course. So it was good timing. I wasn't planning on buying that excavator for like another year, because I knew I wanted a Mini X, but that job kind of just pushed us to buy it, and I don't regret it at all. Now we're finding all kinds of cool uses for it that we never had before, because usually it was a rental, and we would try to get that thing off the job as quick as possible. I rented, like before I bought any of this machinery, I rented for a couple years probably. And before I bought the Vermeer, I tried to rent every type of little mini skid steer I could, every brand I could, which is basically just Vermeer and Ditch Witch. But I tried out like all of their different models, and I kind of tried to make it like every single job that I could use one on, I would rent, just so that I could get, I kind of wanted to make it feel like if I didn't have it, it would be tough to not have it, like we're going to be maybe shoveling wheelbarrows or something if we don't have this, and I just tried to rent every time and start building that into my cost and just get used to having that thing around. And once everyone kind of, knew that you kind of had to have that machine at that point, was when I was saving up and trying to make that dream a reality. And finally we got that, and it was like, yes, this thing is awesome. Like so much better than where we were before. So yeah, I'm a big, I think renting is very, very smart, because you want to get familiar with the tools that you want and are going to be using. Of course you can do a demo too, but I didn't do the demos until I was like close to buying it. Yeah, just like if you're looking to buy, equipment, I would rent it and feel it out and let your guys test it out and see what they like and go over pros and cons, and then make your decision to buy.
You've mentioned a few guys already from the Instagram world, but any people that you want to give a shout out here in terms of people you've asked questions to? They were really open. Mentors, anybody that you want to shout out here as we kind of wind things down?
Yeah, absolutely. My good friend Justin Roberts from JR Landscaping Inc., I believe, on Instagram. He's the one that I've done a lot of design for, and we've become good friends, go surfing a lot and hang out. Frederickson Landscape Inc. on Instagram. He's been great. He gives us a ton of work. We tag team jobs with him all the time, and he's been great. Steve from Garden Rhythms, another landscape designer, contractor, great guy. Gosh, who else? Pride Hardscape, Evan. He's great. He's the one who kind of pushed me to get the Sani, because he had one, and I was like, I don't even know what a Sani is. What the hell is that? Ended up kind of going that direction. I'm glad I did. J Squared. I love the work that he does. It's amazing. It really inspired me to push our company in this direction, just seeing these awesome hardscape installs. Who else? Almond Landscape. He's always been great. He's always a great resource. When I was getting started, I would ask him questions, and he would be quick to respond and help me out, which was very cool. I think that's about it. That's all I can think of. Sorry if I left anyone out.
And as I ask this last question here, Westin, thank you so much for your time to do this interview. I appreciate it. And I ask this question to close things down all the time here, and that is, what is that one thing you know now that you wish you knew from the very start? Whether that's the very start of starting EcoTurf, starting in business with your brother, or getting into the industry in general, what is that one thing you know now that you wish you knew from the very start?
I guess just have patience with building your business. Take it slow, and yeah, just slow it down and enjoy it, because it's a fun journey, and you have to look back at where you started from and appreciate all the wins that you have. And yeah, I think in the beginning I was so caught up in trying to build a business. I was never really satisfied, and but just trying to enjoy it, because it is a very fun, rewarding job, being able to create spaces for people, and just kind of slowing down and appreciating the whole process, I guess.
Absolutely. Westin, thank you so much for your time. Where can our audience go find you? Used to be EcoTurf on Instagram. Now, where can we all check out what you've got going on over there?
Yeah, so you can find us on Instagram, WB Outdoor Inc., and also our soon to have up a website of WB Outdoor Inc. Design build. And where else? I think that's basically where you're going to find us. And yeah, thanks so much for having me, Mike. I appreciate it. It's a real honor to be on here. And thanks for taking the time to interview me.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast episode. Go check out Westin at WB Outdoor on Instagram. Let us know who you want to hear from in future episodes of the I Am a Hardscaper series. And we'd love it if you subscribe to our podcast, left us a rating and review wherever you can. Follow us on Spotify and all that. And go check out at IQ Power Tools on Instagram, Facebook, wherever you can find them. And check out their War on Dust tour at www.iqpowertools.com. We look forward to meeting with you next week on the How to Hardscape podcast.